Hi everyone, and welcome to Industry Disruptors. I know it's been a long time coming. A lot of people have been asking me for probably about 4 years now to do a podcast or do some sort of content, giving people information about mortgages and giving them my experiences as an investor as well as being a mortgage advisor. So finally, we have arrived. We're here. Got loads of content coming to you over the next few months or so, and plenty of guests that hopefully that you'll enjoy listening to and learning from their experiences as well as ours. And of course, I have here with me Jordanne, who's been with me from the beginning, and we're going to start our first episode talking about the mortgage advisor, who we are, and why you need us. Jordanne, thank you, and welcome as
welcome.
Our wonderful
I work
guest. So I mean, it's quite an interesting conversation, I guess, we've been having for so long about why mortgage advisors exist and why people want mortgage advisors and things like that, and why so many people out there don't realise the value of a mortgage advisor.
It's actually unbelievable how many people don't know what a mortgage advisor does.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but then I guess being in the industry, it's not, because I remember coming into the industry 4 years ago and I didn't have a clue what a mortgage advisor actually does and how much hard work goes into it. So I think it's time to educate the public.
Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously you've got multiple people out there that work with mortgage advisors that understand, but then you kind of flip side to what we do, mainly as property investing mortgage advisors.
Well, there's two sides of the industry, right? There's mortgage advisors who probably where the stigma is, and what everyone thinks a mortgage advisor is when you walk into an estate agent's and you see them at a desk. That's how we're portrayed. But actually the flip side of the industry, which is arguably the more exciting side of the industry, is what we do, and we most certainly are not in an estate agent.
No, definitely not. I find myself constantly slamming the phone down on estate agents, as you are well aware of.
Blocked.
I think there's far too much effing and blinding every time an estate agent calls me. So I just can't stand them. Sorry, estate agents.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry. Some are really good, though.
I've had one or two which have actually been amazing.
Yeah.
I dealt with one recently and she put me in the green book, which is like her little book of people to go back to.
I didn't even know that existed.
Neither did I. Okay. And she was actually really, really helpful. And I think that was my second one in 4 years that I haven't blocked.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess from your point of view, you know, when you started working with me, you very much kind of just sat there and just watched me, emailing clients or talking on the phone, listening to me talking on the phone, watching what I was doing on my computer and things like that. From your point of view, when you were coming in, yes, you had invested in property before, and you'd got a mortgage before, but obviously you don't, a lot of people who have mortgages, I mean, let's face it, we've got clients who've got 20, 30 properties, and they still don't understand the mortgage process.
No, because they rely on us, right? And honestly, I thought, coming into the industry, that's what I thought, is that a mortgage advisor is someone who taps on the keys, sources a mortgage, presses enter because that one looks good, and then they apply, and then that's it. And then we wait and see what happens. That's my honest feedback on that. And I quickly realised that is not anywhere near. That's such a small slither of what we do.
Yeah, I suppose if we look at the person that came in from the conveyancing firm that worked with us, and within the first day, she was like, oh my goodness.
She was like, I thought mortgage advisors did nothing other than press buttons and submit applications.
Yeah, she got quite the rude awakening.
She did. But I think it's all of the admin side and the dealing with the lenders and the dealing with the surveyors and the estate agents and the solicitors. It's all of the extra added stuff that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I suppose so.
That we don't want our clients to deal with that, because that's our job, to take the pressure off the clients, especially if they're going through an estate agent and they're buying a property. They get enough hassle from an estate agent. They don't need to deal with all the rest of the crap that they get from mortgage lenders.
Yeah.
So obviously the general public aren't going to see that side of the mortgage industry.
No, they're not. And obviously sitting in our office, and I spend most of my time on the phone screaming at lenders, or sending emails trying to figure out why on earth a lender is asking a specific question, or certain requirements that they have that just don't make any sense. It's that common sense approach, I guess. But ultimately, from a client's point of view, they don't see all of that. You take AR and DA, for example. So AR, appointed representative, DA, directly authorized. The two sides of the coin for mortgage advisors. I mean, did you know what AR or DA were when you first came in?
I had absolutely no idea what those terms were.
I started as an AR.
Yeah.
So I was an appointed representative of a network, and oh my goodness.
I remember you telling me all of the horror stories of you being under a network.
I could not go back. I just could not, honestly. I don't have...
And we almost went under a network.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Yeah.
Almost. And I was the one who told you to do it. Terrible. I'm so glad that fell through, because that would have been awful.
Well, it didn't fall through. I pulled the plug.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
I just, honestly, it's almost that common sense approach from a lender's point of view. It's like, do you have any common sense? Personally, I feel that way about networks. Do you have any common sense? Like, do you actually understand what you're asking? Yeah. And they always say about, we're here to cover our backs, and, we're here to protect you, we're here to look after you. But from our point of view, from my point of view, all I saw it as was you're being a ball ache for no reason whatsoever.
Just roadblocks, red tape everywhere, just full of red tape.
Since going directly authorised, dealing with our compliance team, Richdale, you see so quickly what the FCA actually require, and then this added insanity that the networks put on top of it.
So unnecessary. And just for context, if you're working under a network, it just means that you may be more restricted because you're sort of under the thumb with an umbrella. Not an umbrella, cut that out. Let me start that bit again.
Under my umbrella.
Under an umbrella. Just for context, if you're working under a network, it just means that you have to follow a few more rules, and you may be a bit more restricted as a broker. Some of them don't allow you to do commercial or bridging or anything like that, or you might be restricted to what lenders you can use. Whereas if you're directly authorised like us, you don't really have that restriction, because we just go by whatever the FCA says.
Yeah, and essentially the FCA tells us, kind of gives us guidelines of us to follow. But as far as doing bridging, commercial, working with expats, working with international clients, things like that, it's pretty much, all available to us.
Same with the lifetime mortgages, equity release, retirement mortgages, all of that stuff. One
thing I would say, though, of course, is these mortgage advisors out there who say, I'm whole of market, when whole of market actually doesn't exist. The FCA kind of put something out there. They said that they frown upon those that say whole of market, or you can't say that you are whole of market. And you'll see online or on Facebook or whatever, the 8,000 people that say, I'm whole of market, you need to contact me. Of course, all I want to do is contact them and reply and just say, by the way, do you have access to this lender? And they'll say, no.
It's impossible to be a whole of market, because you've got lenders out there that will only work with you if you physically live in one county.
Yeah, who was that lender?
That was Cumberland.
Was it Cumberland?
Yeah, so unless you live in Cumberland,
postcodes.
You can't work with that lender. So it's physically impossible to be whole of market.
Yeah, I guess so. And then I guess we go on to broker fees.
Broker fees is a big topic.
Massive stigma around it.
I mean, there's a lot of opinions in the industry about it, and there's a lot of clients who don't quite understand the process enough to be able to have a real opinion on broker fees, because what I get a lot, and I'm sure you get it as well, is, well, don't you get paid by the lender?
Yeah, but my response to that is always, I get paid by the lender for the work I do for the lender, and I get paid by my client for the work I do for my client. I'm not a charity. I don't do work for a client for free. 99.99999%, I've got to work my absolute arse off for that client, especially in the type of mortgages that we do. I find it quite disrespectful when people say, oh, I just want to be free. And do you know what actually really annoys me the most is the mortgage advisors out there who lead with, I'm fee free, contact me. And I think they're doing themselves a disservice.
Yeah.
You'll get a lot of people out there who will say, oh, mortgage advisors who don't charge a fee are crap. Now, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that because I know a lot that are actually quite good.
They're just undervaluing themselves.
But I do feel that they are undervaluing themselves and that they're not doing themselves justice by saying I'm fee free. It could be desperation out of I need the work, the clients. I need to do these mortgages to survive. Or it could be, someone in the very, very, very north of England who doesn't have that many expenses. But honestly, I've never had the opportunity to sit down with a fee-free mortgage advisor and have that conversation with them. It would be really interesting to understand it more,
But we only get paid by the lender if it completes.
Yeah.
And there are cases where we put in so much hard work. Do you remember that case that I had not long ago where it was 4 months and the client decided to... The bridge, yeah.
Oh, God.
4 months of hell. That was the estate agent that I was just talking about, who was actually really nice.
That really likes you,
she was the only saving grace in that whole case. 4 months of hell and fighting and chasing and just everything you could imagine in one case that could go wrong went wrong. And then 2 days before completion, the client rings me up and says, I don't fancy it anymore. So I don't get paid what I was going to get paid. I spent 4 months and hours of work and stress for nothing.
Yeah, in that kind of situation. And that's why I remember when I told you day one that we charge fees and we charge this and we're not going to deviate from that in any circumstance whatsoever, because I value my hours, I value the work that I put in. I treat my clients' cases like mine. So there's no reason why I shouldn't be paid for the work that I do.
Well, it's like, have you ever used free solicitors?
Oh, gosh.
They're free for a reason.
Yeah. Well.
Trust me, once you've used something for free, usually the lesson has been learnt, and you usually want to pay that little bit extra.
One thing I wonder actually is where clients do use fee-free advisors, do they go back to that same advisor again and again, or do they keep going to different advisors every time?
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, the people that I've had conversations with who are just, buying their first home, they would just jump ship to any mortgage advisor.
Yeah, see, for me, if a client decides that they want to use another advisor, I say thank you very much, goodbye. I don't let them come back because
exactly the same.
I can't even begin to even think about working with a client who's working with another advisor and then potentially coming back to me and then potentially going, I just can't,
But it's not how we do business, though.
It's the longevity of that client. When you work to help them grow, if they're an investor, you help them grow, you build them up to a certain level, and then all of a sudden they start asking questions. But I guess it's that you either trust your mortgage advisor or you don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think it's more important in the industry that we're in that niche of buy-to-lets, investors, developers, because they're the people that need mortgages, bridging all the time. So they want to build a real power team around them. So I feel like they're less likely to jump ship, even though we see it all the time. But if you're, a first-time buyer, for example, you might go on a 2-year or a 5-year fix, and then you kind of forget about it. It's not at the forefront of your mind. Whereas with an investor, you could be doing 10 deals in the year. Yeah. So you're going to need someone who's on your side, who understands your circumstances and who you trust, because it can be big sums of money.
Yeah, I guess that's another reason why I tend to always say to clients that it's very difficult to just go direct to bank, because you're not always going to get the same service. Not only that, then obviously there are situations where banks have different rates. So if you go to X bank or Y bank, that's their rate and that's the end of it. And that mortgage advisor that they deal with only deals with that bank and has no idea about what else is out there. What if they're going to a bank that is astronomically more expensive than someone else, but they wouldn't know because they've just gone to their bank, and that mortgage advisor can't advise them, by the way, did you know that Y bank down the road is cheaper than us? And so it doesn't make any sense. I find it I guess in some circumstances where you're buying your first home, or you're just, maybe doing a product transfer or something else, and you might want to go to your bank because you don't know anything else. But I guess that's the reason for this podcast, is to educate people that, going direct to bank isn't always the way to go.
Well, I had a conversation. Do you remember when we were out in Cannes?
Yeah,
and, I had that conversation with a developer, and he was like, I go direct to bank because I don't have to pay broker fees. I save all this money. And I said, well, what was your rate? He told me the rate almost fell off my chair. I was like, mate, I could have saved, you could pay my broker fees. Yeah. And you could probably double my broker fees, and you still would have saved more money than what you paid. Like, it was just an absolute joke. And when I had that conversation with him, he was like, are you telling me I could have got that much cheaper? I was like, absolutely. Because you don't know what you don't know. If you're going direct to bank, you only know that one rate from that bank. Whereas it's our job to know other lenders.
Yeah, I had one in MIPIM as well, actually, out in Cannes. Where I told him that the deal he had just done, he would have saved over £340,000.
Oh, I remember that.
£340,000 on that development he would have saved if he had not gone direct, and if he had used an advisor.
I saw him heading for the bar straight after that conversation.
To be fair, I think Cannes is all about heading straight to the bar. It doesn't really matter. But that comes down to knowledge, right? Yes, there are a lot of advisors out there who don't necessarily have the knowledge. It's not to say they're a bad advisor. It's not to say that they don't know what they're doing. It's just to say that maybe they don't do that, or they don't work in that area. We see it daily on our broker chats on socials, where they'll ask a question. Now, to me, it's the most bizarre question I've ever come across
because
in my life.
Because we do it day in, day out.
But for them, they've not necessarily done that. So they're asking the question. So on the one hand, I feel bad when people comment and say, what on earth are you talking about? That's so simple. Every single lender would do that. But on the other hand, I think to myself, if you're not well versed in that area, don't try and do that mortgage.
Yeah.
Very, very controversially, I don't believe...
That's unlike you.
Unlike me, yeah. I don't believe that mortgage advisors who don't invest in property should be doing mortgages for property investors.
Well, that's like we say that about underwriters too, right? And it's difficult because I don't really see how you can advise on something that you have no experience in yourself.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a big issue with underwriters recently. Obviously, since COVID and post-COVID, it's not been the easiest time. I find myself arguing with underwriters consistently, half the time educating them. Remember that 40-minute phone call I had with that underwriter? My God. To explain to them about title split. Just didn't get it.
I was sat on your sofa. I was about to get the popcorn out.
Well, he was going to decline the case. Yeah. I was like, you can't decline this case. He was like, nah, not happy with it.
It's because he didn't understand it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. And then spent 40 minutes on the phone educating him and teaching him from step 1 to step 2.
And you got it through though, right?
Yeah, of course I got it through because I explained it to him exactly what was going on. But he was like, no. Well, how is that possible? Well, how is this possible? I was like, oh my God. And it's like, well, if you don't know property investment, why are you making decisions on property investment?
Exactly. And it's how much you learn from actually going through the experience yourself. Like when I met you, obviously you already had your own portfolio. I only had one buy to let, but at least I'd done the journey. It wasn't until I started investing more, going through, bridging mortgages, awkward lenders, not so awkward lenders.
Builders.
Great mortgage advisor, though. It wasn't until I'd done that experience more and more that I really realised what was going on when I was training as a mortgage advisor. So I think it's really difficult for someone to be advising on developments and limited company buy-to-lets if you've literally never done it yourself.
Yeah, but then obviously that leads on to the messes that we have to clean up with other advisors. Right? How many times have you had a phone call where a client has come to you in the mess that they're in? Oh, my advisor said to do this. And it's just like, you what?
We get it weekly. I just had one the other week. Do you remember? And that was
this week.
Was it this week?
Yeah.
Or was it one? But I was on the phone with her and I felt so bad for her because her advisor had taken her to just one lender.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand why he was taking her to that lender, because it was an adverse lender and she had no adverse credit. She was clean as a whistle.
Yeah.
She was paying 7.5% when she could have been paying 5%.
It frustrates me. And again, that comes down to, do they know what they're doing? Or is it because they've just heard XYZ lender does a certain thing? It's like, oh, that's the only lender that exists. Like you see it online, where, you know, people say, they'll give a scenario and they'll say, oh, what lender would do this? And you'll see 30, 40 comments of this one lender, or maybe two different lenders. Because it's
slightly out of the box, so we'll just go there.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, no, like your bog standard limited company buy-to-let lender would do that, or your bog standard residential lender will do that. I think people take it too far, and I don't know, it could come down to laziness. It could come down to just not knowing.
I think a lot of it is knowledge.
It's just knowledge.
Like, you're just not in that niche. And I think, yeah, okay, sometimes we have to research some stuff when it comes down to lender criteria, and we can't. You don't?
No, I was going to say, I don't think there's a moment where I'm not doing the research.
Oh, I was going to say, God, you've got all that in your mind. I was like, wow. No, look, we have to research stuff, obviously, but, you know, if we're never out of our comfort zone, there's never a case that comes to us and we're just like, wow, I just don't feel like I can deal with that. No. Because if I did, I wouldn't feel comfortable enough to be able to take that on, because I would be like, you know what, I know someone who's an expert in that. Take it there. Yeah,
I mean, when I've got a scenario in front of me, I know straight away which lender I'm going to.
Yeah.
In my mind. But I'll always still just give them a call just to double check it and make sure. So obviously lenders are changing their criteria so quickly.
It's almost every week.
Yeah. Criteria changes, rate changes, up, down, left, right. I mean, you name it. And I find myself, I mean, of course, I'm generally, I feel like I'm always kind of on top of what's going on a weekly basis. But I will know straight away. I know what lender I'm
I'll always have an idea of 2-3 lenders or whatever I could take this to straight away. But it's do you remember when I got that one through in a graveyard? I'm going to tell that story forever, because that's like my greatest achievement in mortgages so far.
But then didn't they come back and say, we're not doing anyone in the graveyard?
Yeah. So, like, it's unheard of to get a mortgage on a property literally inside the graveyard, though, not even just outside. Like, your neighbours are headstones.
Yeah.
And I managed to get this one through, and it was within 6 months. Mm-hmm. There was all sorts of things going on, and we got it through. And then he bought me another property in a graveyard that was next door, because he knew I could have done the other one, and the lender declined because they didn't want 2 properties in the graveyard. I was like, I only bought this to you because you did the other one. They're like, no, one's enough.
Yeah, but I mean, things like that where you can't anticipate what a lender's going to do.
No, you can't.
I've seen the most straightforward deals not go through where they have every right to go through. But
it's also brokers knowing, like, when it comes to company structures as well, right? Because there's not a lot of brokers in our industry that can really nail down the company structure and who needs to be on a company and the shareholding and the companies owned by companies and what lenders will do that. So that goes down to what you were saying, is you need an advisor who is...
We'll do an episode about company structures.
Yeah, no, we definitely will, because there's so much to sort of go into, which a lot of people don't know, because we've had clients come to us where their previous broker has said, oh, you need to put your dad on because you can't get a mortgage on your own. And I'm just thinking, what? You could have just done that on your own. Poor, like, 80-year-old dad's fishing through his bank statements, getting his ID and everything.
No, but that's like me fighting with accountants as well, where I'm just like, you're an accountant. How can you make that mistake? How can you say that this is not possible? How can you...
Like, because they don't know lending.
Yeah, but that's why I started Hearthstone Accountants, because I got fed up with the accountants. I'm fighting with accountants consistently because they're not getting the documents in, or they're not submitting the right thing to HMRC at the right time. So I was like, do you know what? Screw it. I'm starting Hearthstone Accountants. And
well, yeah, because if something's not done how we like it, we just start up that company.
Wills and estate planning.
That's why we did wills and estate planning.
Yeah, but I mean, it's that weird thing, right? Everyone, you know, you get a lot of people who still ask that question: why a mortgage advisor? What do I need them for? Why do I need to pay them? Or they'll just come to you and ask, oh, what rate can I get for this? And then go somewhere else. What rate can I get for that? And what rate can I get for this? And next thing you know, we're like some kind of comparison website. Mr. Clickbait Money Supermarket, where 90% of what Money Supermarket says is incorrect just to clickbait you in.
I've been online and I've seen that Nationwide do 4 point whatever, and I'm like, okay, that's great.
Do you remember that one where I was doing a case with, I want to say it was like Lambe or something, when I was doing like 800 apps with them at that period of time. And the client came to me, called me and said, oh, well, I've been online and I've seen that Buckingham Building Society can do this rate, which was, I think it was like 0.4 or 0.5% cheaper. And I was like, Buckinghamshire Building Society don't even do limited company mortgages for portfolio landlords. And it's just, again, it's that whole clickbait thing. Oh, if you go online, you'll find exactly what you want.
But they don't take your circumstances.
No, it doesn't.
That's the problem.
It doesn't take what? It doesn't take the circumstance. It doesn't take the structure. It doesn't take whether it's a limited company or personal name. It doesn't take into the fact that you might have...
If it's opposite commercial.
Yeah, opposite commercial. It doesn't take into the fact if you've a portfolio landlord or a non-portfolio landlord. And I think that it's an interesting one. And again, I'll go back to if you don't have the knowledge yourself, go to someone who does have that knowledge. But
also that's our job. Like, we are supposed to know what we're doing. And when we give you a product, that is the best product. So what winds me up the most is when I give someone a product and they say, well, aren't there any other options? And I always respond and say, well, I can give you the shitter option if you want.
Yeah.
But why would you take that? Because I'm giving you the best option. I'm not going to give you the second and third options.
Well, my response is, yeah, absolutely. Loads of other options. That's why I wasted my fucking time giving you this option. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I've just spent hours looking for the right mortgage for you. Here's the product that I think most suitable for you. Oh, but is there anything better?
No, otherwise I would have given it to you. Just didn't do eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
It's just, yeah, it's bizarre. But ultimately, I mean, for us as mortgage advisors, we're there to do a service or provide a service for the clients and make sure that whatever we're doing for them is to the best of our ability. And I mean, I'd be quite upset if I got something wrong, because like I said, I treat clients' deals like mine. And if I got something wrong for myself, I'd be upset. So if I got something wrong for my client, I'd be upset as well.
Sometimes I've got up at like 2:00 in the night to go to the bathroom, and I thought, oh my God, I need to do that for that client. And I've like rushed downstairs and like quickly wrote a note before I forget. Like, it's literally on my mind all the time, because if it was my deal, that's how it would be like. Thing. So it needs to be the same. But they also need to trust us in return. So don't question us.
I don't
all
think
the time.
I don't think a client's ever going to trust you.
I've got a few clients.
There are a few
out there.
who are they'll just trust you blindly, and they'll be like, whatever you say, do it. And I love those types of clients because, but again, it also goes to the fact that like some clients, they'll just call before they've even found a deal, or if they've found a deal but they haven't made an offer, and they want to talk the offer through. This is what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think about this? Can we exit that? Should we do a bridge first? Should we go to mortgage first? Do I need refurb funds for that? I think in that kind of situation, some of these clients are just great, because we'll talk through the whole deal. We know exactly what we're going to do at the beginning, exactly what we're going to do at the end, and then it's perfect. Then they'll go off and make that offer, and hopefully, normally, a day later, be like, oh, by the way, Ajay, here we are.
I've got a couple of clients like that, and they're such a what's the word I'm looking for?
Don't know. No idea.
Pleasure. They're such a pleasure to work with, because they ring up, they're like, I'm just going to offer on this, it's next to this, or it's down the road from this, and then they run me through it, and then they feel confident that they can offer on it. And then they've offered on it, they tell me, and they've sent me files, PDFs, this is my income, this is my statements, all like in folders, clearly labelled. It's like falling in love.
Yeah, it is brilliant when you get some of those.
They're rare, but it happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if more people could be like that, it'd be great. Just saying. Hint, hint.
But I think that's about it for this episode. What do you reckon?
Do we do anything else?
I mean, we do everything. Is there anything we don't do?
No, we act as the accountant, the solicitor, the broker, the lender.
Oh, don't even get me started on solicitors. Although we do work with a very good solicitor firm.
We do work with an excellent solicitor firm, but the majority of them, we need to stay on top of them. Sometimes I find if you nag them enough, they get so annoyed with you that they just want to get the deal completed so they can just fuck you
Get rid of you. Yeah, but that's like some lenders, they hate me because I'm on top of them consistently. And they just want to get rid of me as quickly as possible. So I bet they've got like this, oh my God, Ajay's calling the office. Who wants to take that? Who wants to take that call because I'm not taking it? It probably happens. I wouldn't be surprised, to be fair. But I guess that's just me going above and beyond and doing whatever I can for the client.
Well, that's what a good advisor should do.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, thank you very much. I'll see you again soon. Yeah, thanks guys. Really appreciate you tuning in and listening. I'm Ajay, Halfstone Mortgages, Jordanne, Halfstone Mortgages. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.